Well, thank you. I thought it was going to be controversial, but Beverly did a better job than me, so I've only got one objective left, which is to leave with somebody saying, I love you. So that's not likely to happen because my close is probably going to be a bit more pointed. But I'm here to talk to you about productivity, obviously, through information innovation. And those of you who read the program will notice that's not quite what it says on the title. So I want to be a bit more generalist than that. So it's about workforce innovation, but I want to use the time to talk about data, information, the difference between them, and the tools that people already use that can genuinely improve productivity. And it's interesting that people have been talking about innovation and technology and how that impacts. But I'd like to discuss how, with the rapid advances in cloud-based technology, personal information management systems and personal information devices, the NHS can make the most of a fantastic opportunity to improve productivity by taking advantage of the billions of pounds worth of investment that has gone into the internet, phone and communications networks that we now have at our disposal. If you've seen our stand or you were at our masterclass, you may already know that we at WorkDocs focus on workforce productivity, and I've been in the HR and recruitment workspace for quite a while now. And I'm proud that we can offer a massive improvement in productivity and attractive cost savings by using information to manage people effectively. So I could try and sell you something, but what I'm going to talk about is how that's actually enabled. But let me digress for a moment. How many of you have seen Lincoln yet? Yeah? Well, actually, I thought that everybody would have seen it by now. I thought it was brilliant. Even though it took 2 hours to tell how a bill passed through the House of Representatives, I was enthralled. People will tell you that I suffer, perhaps, Lincoln's reputation for telling a story, but don't worry, because we are on a strict time limit, and it's getting late, and people are leaving. But what did make me laugh was Lincoln's hat. It's quite a hat. It's a stovepipe. It'll give you a crick in the neck, an RSI, and it really demonstrates that there are fashion victims throughout the ages. Well, Lincoln used to keep his speeches in his hat. That is, in fact, the Gettysburg Address. You can't see it, but I thought we ought to be at least as relevant as we could be. So you'll notice that A, I don't wear a stovepipe hat, and B, I've got my stuff on this little widgety thing here, and I don't need any paper. And that's really just a ploy to draw your attention to the idea that technology has moved on around us with a social metaphor attached, and that we need to track it. Now, I know that the technology sector doesn't have a great reputation, especially in the NHS. Revolutionary or disruptive technology only wins if it delivers business benefits. The amount of NHS money that's being wasted on unachievable big tech is embarrassing for any IT professional. And I tell you, I'm really impressed to see people using Lean in the NHS. I've used Lean in business for years, and if you guys can do that, you really will get a step ahead in terms of productivity. But if your synapses haven't been too shorted by talk of more technology change, what I'm going to explore is the thinking behind our masterclass, the outworking of which is nothing short of a revolution in information management, which can transform business processes and cost profiles. In our case, it's about managing the cost and effectiveness of locum and bank staffing. Okay, so in short, we achieve 30 to 40% savings simply by using information effectively, turning it into knowledge, automating the management and workflows, and making the most of the paradigm shift that involves the information owner directly in the process, and that is so important. That's a real productivity improvement, and we're all looking for big number savings, perhaps nowhere more than here in the NHS. So where does that come from? Well, here's a good place to start. Here it is. Now, of course, if it goes off now, I'll get a good laugh, won't I? So hopefully it's turned off. But 10 years ago, you wouldn't have believed me if I told you what it did. I wouldn't have believed me, and I'm an anorak. But we are in a different world, and a lot of this stuff does work very well. I can update my status, I can run my business, I could even find out what my children were doing, but there is something like too much information. But I can connect, exchange information, and I might be waving a piece of technology around, but actually it's more about people and their behaviors. The last chap was talking about people, culture, and the way that people behave. And that's already changed people's behaviors. You don't have to manage that, it's done. And although it's connected to billions of pounds of investment, it's small, pretty good looking, and it costs a fraction of what an ERP provider is going to ask you to find out where you are, what you're doing, and how to do it. And those billions of pounds of investment are yours to share. And because it's shared, your part of that cost is fractional. It's not a phone, it's an information device. So is this. This is a Nexus, by the way, if you're interested. I tend to use all this kind of stuff just because I am an anorak, but actually it's all connected. I can use it wherever and whenever I like, and it changes the way we think about data. And this is an important change. And if I can borrow from IBM, it's not about data anymore, it's about information that we can use to create knowledge. When we started WorkDocs, one of the first things we realized, the Damascene revelation, if you like, was that organizations were spending huge amounts of time and trouble keeping information about people up to date. Sadly, the only thing that's true about people in a database is that it's already out of date. And the only person who knows what that information should look like is the person themselves. So we gave it back to them. We said, look, we haven't a clue what you've been doing since we got this information. You keep it up to date. Now, that information may need validating. So we connected it to the GMC database, because they've got the information you need in the NHS to validate the locums. So now we can deliver real-time information about the doctor direct to the hospital, the staffing manager, and the doctors themselves. It's clever, but it's not hard. What that has done is provide massive productivity and cost opportunities to the NHS just by understanding the information ownership and availability metaphor that's at work here. And we can get a locum from requisition to contract in minutes without agency charges. You don't really think about data when you're using it, do you? We don't talk about data very much at WorkDocs. We talk about people and how to manage people effectively. Data management was supposed to make us all productive. We used to worry about data storage, how to deliver data to end users, and in truth, it was arguably not very productive at all, because it was really hard work. People who signed up to do a valuable job ended up spending their lives staring at a screen, entering reams of data that ended up in the data warehouse. And to make it useful, you needed someone to go in, wheel it out for you on a forklift, and we called it reporting. So I could make grand statements like, small is beautiful, big tech is dead, long live small tech, but unfortunately, I'm actually too old for that. I've seen it all before. In my lifetime, we've gone from mainframes, where you rented time on a processor and rented your software. We went to PC and LAN, monolith IT departments, to LAN, then WAN, then client server, and it really doesn't matter what the acronyms mean. It is all anorak speak. But now it is all in the web and in the cloud, and actually the mainframe's the internet, because we share all this information from one system. We even rent software again. Plus ça change. Okay. I know I'm not going to get away with saying that none of this data is relevant or you should throw it all away. But if we want to be productive, we need to stop spending our time managing data and start using information to manage people effectively. And that information should be on demand, and acquiring it should be easy. And I think it should be delivered in a way that users want, not how the techies think it should be done. We need to understand that the revolution in social computing that's been going on for a while now, and see that business benefits can be delivered from it. So I have a very interesting time at our company. I am the old git. I can measure, because I'm a businessman and I like these things, I can measure that we can handle recruitment and onboarding processes in less than 5% of the time it took me no more than 3 years ago. We can get a locum requisitioned, contacted, contracted, and squared away in 15 minutes, but I can tell you that if I didn't listen to the information management guys who in a literal and good sense have their head in a cloud and have been using the social metaphors that underpin information management for years, we'd still be staring at the workflows today, lean or no lean. Because it's connect and collaborate, not collect and protect. Connect with the information, collaborate with your colleagues. Don't collect data and throw up a protection perimeter. There's a gentleman who was speaking earlier about the fact that he couldn't get information moved around and there are only 3 people using it. That's exactly the problem. But you can drive around this. We used to allow the IT gurus to manage all the data for us because we couldn't cope with it. It was technically too hard. And they used to effectively drive the forklift truck for us. But like the car, the computer, as things get commoditized, they get, or they should get, easier to manage and more simple, and we don't need a forklift anymore. We have a mobile information access device in our pocket. So the leitmotif is that we need to connect and collaborate, which is what the social metaphor is all about. That's what LinkedIn is. That's what Facebook is. But what it doesn't have is the business knowledge and the business workflows that we need to get into the mix to gain the really big number of advantages that we need. Now, people used to be force-fed data from the forklift, and now that information is on demand. They graze, where they can choose their information and consume it on the go. Well, I was always told by my parents, you can't eat in the street. It's really not the right thing to do. Well, unfortunately, time has passed. Everything is on the go. Everything is connected. Things you might not have known. If you go for a potluck dinner with your neighbours, you expect to get something to eat, and you might be forgiven for thinking it means what it says. Some people will tell you, particularly if you watch QI, that it actually comes from the Chinook word called potlatch. And it means the same thing. It just means that everybody gets together and has something to eat. We all get to eat. And technology is getting a bit like that. It's about bringing your own device, though, whether it's your phone, your Nexus, your iPad. And in our workshop this morning, we just distributed them amongst the people who were in the workshop and got them to do it because it's so easy. So perhaps it's not potluck, it's padluck. We can all come to the party, graze the information, but this time we brought our own plate because everything is connected. My office is right here. You can connect to any of these devices and you can connect them to the billions of pounds worth of investment that people have put up in the cloud, and you can share it. And for the kind of money that they've spent, it's virtually free. A friend of mine's an information executive at a large media company. And this is just an example of how you can do this. In 6 months, they transformed the way they manage information. They got rid of their Microsoft security blanket, gave everybody an iPad, put Google Apps in the cloud, and got on with running the business. Exit a massive cost base, enter a new world of information sharing, and before you ask, it is secure, it is safe. And that doesn't mean to say that that's the answer for everybody. All it means is that you can do this stuff and you can connect with it and you can make it happen. You can do this change, because if they can do it in 6 months, with the support of people like Beverly, you can do it too. Now, people generally understand that they have to protect their information, and rightly so. We at WorkDocs have invested not just in physical and data security, but we also encrypt user data to the nth degree. You'd need access to Deep Blue to get to my address. But we've got to think about the different ways that this data is distributed, because it's like a stream. It's not a terminus, there's not a data store. You shouldn't be storing this data. You should just be moving it, which means that all these systems have got to be connected. Now, the government, here's the bit where you decide that you don't love me, okay? So if you want to say it now. The government want to see more SMEs in government, in the NHS businesses. And they suggest that even now they're saving up to £50 million per week as a result of opening the doors to SMEs. So I have here a couple of pamphlets from the NHS about working with SMEs. We are the S in SME, by the way. But still, despite that, this is what John Walker has to say from the Federation of Small Businesses. And dear David, even David is trying to get us to do this. This is all about how do we get people with innovation like WorkDocs into the NHS. And I've got to tell you that it's still far too difficult. It can take months, even over a year, for an SHA to make a decision about a cashless investment in software as a service that you can turn on and turn off and do on a per-click transaction. We have found it massively difficult. We've been involved in this for 18 months, and basically we can't afford you. If it carries on like this, you'll break the SMEs with the best innovation. Now, the good news is that it can be done. I'm really pleased to see the comments earlier about getting creative about procurement. Do you know how long it takes to do an OJU for 30 grand's worth of business? It can take months. And companies like us simply can't afford it. You've got to get more creative. You've got to do Quip for us to provide you with these systems. So enjoy your information potluck. You can take advantage of this amazing cornucopia of smart systems, but you've got to reach out and grab it. It's like the proverb says, the hungry man has got to reach out his hand and grab it. That's it. Thank you.